Welcome to World of Monsters, I'm Monster Master Arthur, and welcome to this episode of, in-depth werewolf transformation. I guess it's a series of its own where we go in depth on different werewolf transformations of various movies, talking about the process behind it and just how good in quality it is. And today's werewolf transformation will be of the movie Silver Bullet. 1985, directed by Dan Attias, who also directed Beauty and the Beast of 1987. And not much else that is really relevant to this video, just episodes here and there. Silver Bullet is based on a Stephen King's novel entitled Cycle of the Werewolf. I bet you knew it was based on a Stephen King's novel, but you didn't know the original title. The slightly bear-like werewolf design was disliked by the producer, who wanted it replaced. Creature designer Carlo Rambaldi, who also designed E.T. and the great monster Dagoth of Conan the Destroyer. Obviously I'm passionate about that one. So yes, this creature designer Carlo and Stephen King himself both refused the change. But I have to agree on the producer that it just wasn't the greatest of designs, and it did take 3 months to make. It featured a mechanically operated head and was actually covered with real bear fur. Now, Bernie Wrightson's illustrations for the novel were excellent. They really should have gone with that white fur for the final film. All in all, it would have bettered the film's practical effects reputation, though not necessarily its critical acclaim. So now without further ado, let's jump into the transformations. And we'll start with the most notable one. Now keep in mind, this movie was of 1985. It was clearly influenced and inspired by American Werewolf in London, and of course Howling, as both were the top of werewolf movies to this time of 1985. They were actually both released in 1981. Although the practical effects had to be particularly inspired by award-winning American Werewolf in London's by Rick Baker. Although in this one, we did see something special. During the transformation, the werewolf actually knocks out the officer with a baseball bat. Did they learn something from Howling's werewolf transformation, where the werewolf transformed for like 5 minutes with the lady just screaming and doing nothing there the entire time? I really like this touch here because it was quite original even to this day, because werewolf transformations are some of the only times where the werewolf is actually, vulnerable, where it's either in human form and can think fast, or werewolf form where it's just immensely dangerous. So this little moment in time is actually probably the best time to take advantage and attack a werewolf, although it may be sort of dishonorable or against your system of honor in battle. But at that point you're probably like, screw it, I've got to destroy this thing. So that little attack there was probably the most unique feature about this transformation. But let's check out this next transformation, which is quite epic as it takes form through a number of werewolves in a church. 70 extras participated in this transformation and were divided into 4 groups of different levels of special effects makeup, from people that were just kind of simple level of special effects makeup to the ones that were almost fully developed werewolves. And just imagine the potential this scene really had, especially being based off of Wrightson's illustrations. Done well with quality special effects and directing and capture of the different people transforming all at the same time in a church, that would have been to this time still probably the most epic of werewolf transformations. Maybe it wouldn't beat the effects of American Werewolf in London or the present effects done by CGI that some are actually pretty well done, but this would have been a mass of recording of all these actors participating. It would have been quite epic and probably on a tier of its own. Still an unforgettable idea. So being what that scene could have been, let's jump into a final transformation here, which I think on one person was the best in the film, and it was actually a reverse werewolf transformation, which we don't see much of in movies, or we don't see much attention drawn to that in movies. So again, to me, this was the more impressive one. And I might even actually be the most impressed with the ears shrinking effect, as it doesn't just look like the ears receding back into the head, it looks like it's recoiling and changing a little bit in shape. So that was a nice little capture right there. We also see some more influence from American Werewolf in London with the hair shortening effect. In American Werewolf in London, the fur growth effect was actually recorded like this, as hairs were being pulled through individually through the synthetic skin structure. But in Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London, they reverse this effect to make it look like it's growing. So here they just use that effect to make it look like it's receding while he's changing back into his human form. The claws are nothing special, they're simply being pulled back into very obvious holes in the fingers, and we see what looks like some video overlay blending, just a slight improvement on the transformation of the classic, the Wolfman of 1941. So I hope you've enjoyed this in-depth werewolf transformation of the werewolf of Silver Bullet 1985. I've got other in-depth werewolf video analysis videos out there. I've got American Werewolf in London covered. I've got Van Helsing also. I know there's a lot of fans of that film and Werewolf and other smaller films. And you know what? If I ever use the werewolf from this movie in a Werbear video, please don't blame me, because there's just not much Werbear content out there, and being as this werewolf was very similar, please don't blame me in the future for such video production. But enough said about this. If you haven't seen the movie yet, do check it out. It's a Stephen King based story, so it's bound to have some interesting factors in it. Anyway, until next time guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what werewolf transformation out there really triggers your fancy.
Now don't panic.
He's here.